Yeah, Shaft. The movie, the hero, the song.
Shut your mouth.
I'm talking about Shaft.
Then we can dig it.
Among the wave of crime dramas and black-centered films around 1970, why does that one endure? And why did this crown jewel of blaxploitation somehow make a lifelong imprint on me, the whitest, West Coastest guy you know? I want to talk about Shaft. When you see lists of great film noir, Shaft never cracks the top 10, but it is a cracking good detective film that sits just as comfortably next to The Maltese Falcon as it does to Coffee. Our hero, of course, sports an updated version of the Private Dick's unspoken uniform, a long coat and something to smoke. He's an ex-cop with an attitude problem, whose experience on the streets only gets hinted at.
We put in a lot of street time together. That was a long time back.
Shaft maintains a grudging alliance with everyone. The mob threatens his life on the way to offering him a job.
Do you mind? No, I'm used to it.
The police constantly threaten him, even as they're begging him for crumbs of evidence.
That buys you 48 hours out on the street, and then we're going to talk again.
Give me another day, Barney. I may have something for you.
With cops and criminals alike, Shaft calls the shots.
Such a lot of guns around town, and so few brains.
In the service of saving an innocent girl and making a buck, John Shaft manages to unite opposing underground factions and walk away from them all once the job is done. What allows him to navigate these murky waters is the detective's unshakable, unconventional code of ethics. When we meet him, Shaft emerges from the literal underground, fully realized, a static figure in a shifting world. The mafia is seeping into New York to challenge established black crime syndicates. Society is reeling from a struggling civil rights movement and challenges to traditional sexual roles. But John Shaft, like every great noir detective, does not change with the tide. Sam Spade defends his profession.
Well, when one of your organization gets killed, it's bad all around. Bad for every detective everywhere.
Philip Marlowe defends his clients.
Not from my client.
Eddie Valiant struggles to reconcile his own demons with his record of defending the racially oppressed.
I don't work for Jones.
Shaft, like Eddie Valiant, strains to reconcile his loyalties. To his own dignity, yes, but to the black community, even as it's eating itself.
Sweet talking a man's old lady while you're beating the old man out of his paycheck in the back room of a horse parlor? Feeding his kid shit to shoot in his arm?
More on that in a minute. I said noir. It would be more accurate to say neo-noir, which was in vogue in Hollywood in the late 60s. The gorgeous, stark black and white images of classic film noir are replaced with a grain and grit that would define the 70s auteur movement. Cinematographer Urs Fuhrer, who died not many years after shooting this film, captured New York City with tremendous love and detail, making the movie in retrospect look like a Scorsese, even as it walked and talked like a Howard Hawks. The movie is as devoted to the geography of the 5 boroughs as Chandler was to L.A. County or Hammett to San Francisco. Unsurprising, since Shaft was a sophomore film of Gordon Parks, oh, that's him there, who made a career out of filling Life magazine with photos of what poverty could do to kids, to farmers, or to even tenement dwellers in Brazil. Shaft seems a little more surprising when contrasted with Parks' previous and first film, an adaptation of his semi-autobiographical novel, The Learning Tree. Now, I have a good friend whose father grew up in the real Fort Scott, Kansas, and whose relatives dot the Learning Tree's crowd scenes. She says her father got out of that town as soon as he could, for all the reasons that Parks cites in the book and film. Even more than Shaft, the Learning Tree wears its dogged devotion to veracity on its sleeve. Parks didn't even bother changing the real names from his youth of the sadistic racist cop Kirky or the awful guidance counselor Mrs. McClintock, although he did change the name of his boyhood town. The Learning Tree summarizes Parks' swiftly paced coming-of-age novel, a book that thrives on small-town details and is driven by Parks' revulsion with violence, threatened or deployed to enforce white supremacy, and trained into the blacks, Mexicans, and Native Americans growing up in Cherokee Flats, Kansas. This horror of violence, especially between members of the black community, carries over unexpectedly into Shaft, a film with a high body count that does open with Shaft letting a black hood defenestrate himself. Later, when unnamed assailants have slaughtered a black activist's cell, Shaft and the lone survivor take refuge in the apartment of a hapless neighbor. The nationalist blames Shaft for the massacre and threatens him in return. Quietly, the woman comes to Shaft's defense.
Young man, please. Don't do that.
In the same way, the learning tree climaxes when Marcus Savage, a wild orphan, comes to kill the protagonist in revenge for Marcus's father's death. The boys hear Officer Kirky coming, and the hero allows Marcus to flee to avoid yet another institutionally sanctioned murder of a young man of color. It's to no avail. But the moment cements the fictionalized young Gordon Parks' stance. In his then-recent biography, A Choice of Weapons, Parks stated that the camera, not the gun, was his weapon for social change, a choice he stood by even when later embedded with heavily armed black activists.
And I said, look, you have a .45 automatic on your lap. I have a 35mm camera. Sure enough, the young man was killed in an ambush by the police in Los Angeles 2 weeks later. My story was published and went all over the world. So in the end, in that particular case, my weapon was the strongest.
Parks' visual brilliance, his exceptional eye for composition and color, which classes up his piercing, sometimes satirical realist photography, is unfortunately not evident in The Learning Tree, which is hampered by other first-time jitters as well, like the hit-and-miss acting.
I have a little fun, like imagining you agreeing with pink ears, blue nose, purple hair.
That continues on somewhat in Shaft with Bumpy Jonas's awkward henchmen, who foreshadow the B-movie cheese that would mar Shaft's 2 sequels and countless imitators.
Hey, what's happening, man? You need some help?
This is an angel dust factory.
Angel dust? Well, let's kick ass then.
I can dig it.
On the plus side, Parks, who was the first black man to write and direct his own film for a major studio after decades of micro-budgeted indie flicks released at specialty theaters by the likes of Oscar Michaud, Parks insisted on hiring as much black talent behind the camera as he could get away with, which he repeated with Shaft, including on insisting that John Shaft be kept a black man, just as he was in the source novel, which was penned by the same white dude who won the Oscar for The French Connection. To swing from the Learning Tree's Midwestern protest cinema verite to one of the greatest popcorn-wolfing, hard-hitting, good-humored, masculine, big-city fantasies seems unlikely, and Parks was the first to admit why he did it.
And to make money.
But the money came, and the movie lives on because much more came with it. Shaft's cultural success, of course, is due in part to the blistering soundtrack by Isaac Hayes. When fresh out of college with my first office job, I picked up a copy of the album on a whim, and I instantly, without even yet having seen the film, knew that this music sounded like goals. I wanted this playing in my office whenever a student came in with grievances. I wanted this when walking the cobblestone streets in my own windy city, turning every cab ride into a jaunty adventure. In the context of the film, Isaac Hayes blurs the line between diegetic music and interior monologue. Shaft leaps past the film noir trap of sharply worded, distracting voiceovers.
Gotta get out of here. Hope I buried my shirt deep enough. It's a dead giveaway.
By replacing them with Hayes' score. John Shaft carries his easygoing confidence with him uptown to Bumpy's, home to the no-name bar, and into enemy territory at Cafe Reggio. A gang lord, a handsy bartender, a racist mafia thug, nobody gets under Shaft's skin. And thanks to the music, we are right there with him. We only lose our cool when the soundtrack does. I've since become a devotee of Isaac Hayes in all his incarnations, from the Stax Records protege to South Park's good-natured self-parody, but for me this is still the zenith, even above Hot Buttered Soul, and that's not to be taken lightly. Gordon Parks succeeded in what he had set out to do. He made a big old good time movie that offered young black men a hero they had not seen in mainstream cinema. There had been black movie heroes before, but not like this. John Shaft melds the weathered cool of Bogart with the edge of McQueen or Eastwood. Now, Shaft often gets called a black superhero. In today's world with Miles Morales, T'Challa, Storm, Jon Stewart, Blade, etc., that seems a little old-timey. But even in 1971, I would say that John Shaft was more of the black James Bond. Impeccably dressed, unflappable, taking booty breaks in the middle of a long working day, Shaft's head-turning charm is an inexplicable superpower. It's easy to call Shaft a bed-hopping misogynist, James Bond again. But, unlike the James Bond of his era, 1971's Shaft calls out its hero's sexual callousness.
You're really great with Zach, but, you're pretty shitty afterwards, you know that?
And even makes that a running gag.
Hey, baby, please close the door, huh?
Close it yourself, shitty.
Close it yourself, shitty.
And while the film is peppered with gorgeous black women, the only female skin we actually see is curiously from this white bohemian in a scene that shows off Richard Roundtree. But why is he wearing his Rolex in the shower? Is this a waterproof watch commercial? Yeah, like I said, James Bond. Film scholar Elvis Mitchell points out in his great documentary, Is That Black Enough For You?, that Shaft's swagger has more than a whiff of Gordon Parks himself in it, a guy who'd worked his way up from being a train porter to become an international jet-set celebrity, married at the time to one of the first black supermodels, and friends with the likes of Ingrid Bergman and Malcolm X, a guy who took all the risks for civil rights in his own iconoclastic way.
When you lead that revolution, why you better be standing still? Because you don't run with the no more.
We're done running, man. What the hell do you call this, man?
Parks reduces his Harlem revolutionary leader to hiding out in a little girl's middle-class bedroom, even as the camera ogles Christopher St. John's body. But Shaft isn't as simple and idealized as the movie's reputation would make you think. As much as he sticks out in Manhattan, where he has his office, John Shaft stands out equally in Harlem. His ultra-hip wardrobe, which I'll confess has been an inspiration to me for 30 years, however, fits in perfectly in the hipster enclave of Greenwich Village, which he has chosen to call home. There's an ugly trading of barbs with Vic, the white cop who Shaft seems to relate to more than anybody else in the film.
You ain't so black. And you ain't so white, baby.
They're calling out the inaccuracy of the very words black and white to describe skin tone, and they're challenging each other's ethnic loyalty, and they're recognizing themselves as two men who trade in the gray areas, both moral and ethnic, that make survival very possible for both of them.
Well, I'm going out and get some breakfast. You want a cup of coffee?
I can't afford to be seen with you.
Gordon Parks, for his part, found he could be a voice for equality while working for, quote, the white team at Life magazine, as he put it. But as it is for John Shaft, crossing racial boundaries for Parks never meant any distancing from his own people. Deracination is one step in the downfall of Marcus Savage, the half-black, half-Native American antagonist of the Learning Tree. When confronted for brutalizing an old white man and told that he's now a disgrace to his people in the town, Marcus responds,
I ain't got no people.
That's a misstep that Gordon Parks will not allow John Shaft to make. To save Bumpy's daughter, he unites the black law, criminals, and revolutionaries for one humanitarian heist, and then leaves poor old Vic to sort out the mess.
Vic, your case just busted wide open.
So close it for me.
Looks like you're gonna have to close it yourself. Shitty.
John Shaft laughs it off and he walks away, leaving white law enforcement to do their job, the job that they've been begging Shaft for help with from the very first scene. He doesn't bring down the white man. Shaft just reminds the white man that he has always been dependent on the black man to save his bacon. Say Shaft today and you're greeted by a round of knowing cliches. The clothes, the slang, definitely the song.
Shaft!
Right on.
But there's a reason why this film spawned sequels, remakeables, and a TV show, and why none of them could measure up to the original. Shaft asserts its vision and enshrines John Shaft as, yes, a superhero. At the same time, it wraps a critique of its own swagger into its own fabric, something that the best blaxploitation flicks continue to do.
Okay, bye.
Hey, let's go to McDonald's.
Like its hero, Shaft never backs down from its convictions, and it respects us enough to never forget to thoroughly entertain.